When I was 25, I thought 50, man, you're ancient.
Yeah.
You're old.
And you're past that, and you are ancient.
And now, That Financial Guy with Keith and Jack Wilson, spreading a wealth of information.
Financial planning.
It's always interesting.
It's always interesting. You meet all kinds of people. That's why I love financial planning and working with people to hear their stories and what's going on in their lives. And, hopefully we can find a path to help them reach their goals. By the way, my name is Keith Wilson.
Jack Wilson.
Yeah. And we run a financial planning firm helping people just like you along their personal finance journey. And so today's podcast, we want to talk about a couple of folks that we met, their story, and maybe it would sound interesting to you and familiar with you, and you can relate to what they're going through, what their goals are, and how we help them. We'll just call it a case study. Jack, who do we got first? Batter up.
Yeah, batter up. So we met with a young woman, Sarah, this past week.
And you made that name up again?
Yeah, I think I did.
I like Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Sarah's the name of your mother.
That's your wife as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's crazy.
It is one of my favorite names, by the way.
But met with Sarah. She's 24 years old, just graduated college. She landed a great job as a pharmacist, making $120,000 right off the bat. She's not married. She doesn't have kids, no debt, and she's got $10,000 in savings. Rent right now is $1,575 a month. Living expenses is $3,500 a month, and her goal is to retire at 50, which is
50.
Yeah.
That's kind of lofty.
Yeah.
She's 24, wants to retire at 50.
But she has that goal in mind. But her other goal is she'd like to travel the world and enjoy herself like anybody in retirement. And another goal is to eventually purchase a house. So what we want to unravel here is a couple things. She's already on the right track of sitting down with us saying, hey, this is,
right.
I'm making this kind of money. I want to make sure I'm on the right path. The big thing is retirement for a lot of older folks, and she's only 24
I know.
years old.
That struck me as well.
Smart young woman.
24-year-old thinking about retiring at 50. When I was 25, I thought 50, man, you're ancient.
Yeah.
You're old.
And you're past that, and you are ancient.
Well, maybe I am.
Did that strike something in you?
No, didn't strike anything.
Do we have to stop the podcast?
We do not have to stop the podcast.
Well, this is what I was thinking about with her. Okay, so the big thing is that what we always preach is these 3 buckets. So if she wants to retire at 50, we got to think about where she's going to pull this money out of. So we got a taxable, we got a Roth IRA, and traditional IRA.
Right now, she has nothing, none of those.
She doesn't have any of those, but we want to throw that out there immediately. Now, the issue with pulling from the Roth IRA and traditional IRA is it's kind of a lack of access for pulling that out before
59 and a half.
Right. So overfund the taxable.
Overfund the taxable. Those are my thoughts. That's a lofty goal. To retire at 50, just starting out 24, but doggone, 120,000 at 24 years old. That's awesome. She worked for it in school.
And speaking about the Roth IRA, she's kind of close to that income limit.
Yeah.
So we want to start maxing that out as soon as possible.
Yep, I told her
because she's just going to start making.
What is it? 133, 138. It starts to phase out, and then at 153,000, you can no longer contribute. So what I told her is, this year we're halfway through the year. You just started. Right away, plunk down 6,500.
Yeah.
Into that Roth. Now she's working in a hospital. They offer a 403B. Mm-hmm. There's no Roth option there. And by the way, disclaimer about a Roth, money you put into a Roth, there is no tax deduction. It potentially grows tax-free. You have to hold it for 5 years or 59 and a half, whichever is later, in order to pull the earnings out. Now,
right.
you can pull out your contributions at any time with no penalty and no tax. But that 5-year rule or 59.5, whichever is later for her, it's going to be 59.5. She taps into the earnings, then we've got a 10% penalty on it. Anyway, I told her, let's start that bucket right away, $6,500, because I can see something in this young lady that she's just going to escalate.
Yeah.
And her income, bonuses, promotions, pay raises, in just a few years she'll phase out. But you hit the nail on the head. That taxable bucket, you got to get that going too.
Yeah, and two other things that we have to think about is 50 years old. That is pretty low to retire. Pretty low age to retire for most people. She might need to start thinking about just eating ramen noodles and just living frugally, and just socking every single thing away. But the other thing about her age is you don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years, 15 years. She might
Especially
have family.
when you get into the 30s, that's kind of tricky.
Yeah, because things change.
Yeah, they do.
But she
It
has
changed for me when I was 30 years old.
the best thing that came out of it. Yeah.
But you're right. That's tricky in your 30s. You don't think about it when you're 24. She's not married now, no kids. But she said, sure, that's a possibility.
Right.
And that could change. You know, you got expenses with the children. You're usually upsizing your house.
But see, that's the good thing about a financial plan, because it's with what we use, it's all flexible and it changes.
Very flexible
as time goes by. So if she does have a home relocation, if she does have children, that's all something that we can look at in her financial plan to readjust things.
Correct. And I did a quickie, just a spitball for her. A quickie spitball.
Okay.
So we spitball it because everybody wants to know their number. Can I do this? How much should I save? What should I aspire to have at 50 in order to retire? And everybody's going to be different. She's very frugal, by the way.
Right.
Her rent's $1,575.
But she's only living off $3,500 a month.
Right. She said, I can do that. So just spitballing, she would have to sock away every single penny.
To get to that.
To get to that number, and that's really giving her, because if you're going to travel, that's a cost. It's not. It's more than just paying the light bill.
That's right. Yeah.
So just spitballing it, she's got to be very aggressive. Save 15% in that 403b. Save 10% in a taxable account. Fund the Roth as long as you can, and that's. And here's another idea. Once she phases out, where can't do a Roth or contribute, she can always do some conversions, or in her case, I would say, okay, that money you were doing in a Roth, put it in the taxable bucket. The taxable bucket, folks, is just a brokerage account, an investment account. It's not tied to retirement, but we're earmarking it for retirement, and you got to be disciplined enough not to tap into it, because it is liquid.
But I mean, she's definitely on the right path. At 24 years old, she came to us and she was like, it's go time.
It's the first thing at 24 is she's thinking about retirement.
Yep.
That's unusual.
That's kind of hard for a younger person to do that.
So we're working with her to reach those goals, but we got to get aggressive with it on the saving.
Yeah.
And we got to adjust it as time goes along. We met with another couple last week or the week before.
Yeah, they have a little bit of a different story. I'll go ahead and explain theirs. And two totally made up names met with Mike and Lisa, 33 and 32, and they own their own landscaping business. They pay themselves $31,200 a year each in salary and has roughly $110,000 in profit. They have no retirement plan in place and has around $23,000 in savings. They have a mortgage of $325,000 with 27 years left on the mortgage. They have two children, ages 6 and 8. She has a 10-year term policy with a $100,000 death benefit. Their goals are to retire in their 50s and start a college fund for the kids.
Here we go. Another one wants to retire in their 50s. And here, all right, we went from
that's kind of normal for younger folks to be like,
think,
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it's getting close to the FIRE movement. Folks, the FIRE movement is financially independent, retire early, where people say, I'm going to eat ramen noodles, beans and rice, and I'm not going to have the fancy car. I'm going to sock everything away. So, but a lot of times they want to retire in their 40s. It can be done, but life, I hate that saying, life gets in the way, or life happens.
I mean,
and it does, and it's a good thing. But here we go, 33, 32, wants to retire in their 50s.
Yeah, let's unravel this.
The first thing that pops out to me is they're self-employed. So when I was speaking with them, when I speak with the self-employed folks, I've got a LLC, limited liability company. It's a matter of how you file your taxes, utilizing the S Corp status. Now, I'm not a CPA, don't pretend to be one. We do recommend tax people to talk about that, but this is just for education purposes.
Right.
So they were doing the right thing because they were filing as an S Corp. You see, they're paying themselves a salary, and that roughly $10,000 in profit, they don't pay payroll tax on that. They don't pay self-employment tax on that. They pay federal and state income tax, but they save themselves a bundle by doing that. So that part's good. No retirement. They have nothing really, $23,000 in savings. So that's a good emergency fund a little bit. A couple of options I'm running by them to start a retirement plan for the business. They don't qualify for the solo 401k because they have W-2 employees. So we could at least start out with something simple called the Simple IRA. And it's designed for small businesses with less than 100 employees, and you cut out all this administrative cost and planning fees and reporting fees to the IRS. You can't to fully contribute to a 401k is $22,500. Simple IRA, I think, is like $15,500, but at least it's a start for their business, and then the company can match. One of the reasons we might be looking at the simple for them, again, the simplicity of it, but now with the Secure Act, simple IRAs can now have the Roth option.
Right.
So we can split that tax deduction on the simple contribution IRA, traditional, and the Roth bucket. But here again, we got to have that third bucket, that taxable bucket, if they want to retire before 59 and a half. So they're in the same boat as the 24-year-old, but now they're experiencing what I called that tricky 30s because we got the two children.
We got the two kids.
We got a mortgage that's, $325,000, 27 years left.
So let's talk about the kids real quick, too. Do we want to do a 529 plan? Do we want to do an UTMA? Do we want to do both? Do we want to fully fund college for them? And you have a quote that you say all the time.
Hey, you can take care of yourself first because you can always get a loan for college. You can't get a loan for retirement.
Right.
I always use the analogy when you're on an airplane, before you take off, they do all the instructions. And the masks come down. They tell you, if you have small children, put it on you first. UTMA or 529. I like both. I like a combination. 529 plan is solely for school, accredited school. It used to be just for college. They changed the rules. You can use it for private school tuition, but it's got to be used for college. And the big question is, what if they never go? I don't know if this 6-year-old Joey's going to go to college at 6 years old.
You never know.
But you have options there with the 529. If they never go now, with a Secure Act and so forth, you can roll that into a Roth IRA for the child, up to $35,000. There's limitations and restrictions that apply, but if one doesn't go, you can change the beneficiary to the other. With the UTMA plan, it's a custodian account, and actually the child owns it. It's under their Social Security number. The parent is the custodian. So you've got to use that for the benefit of the child. So it doesn't have to be just college.
Right.
The caveat is, and you were talking with a young lady yesterday and saying, well, when they reach age of majority, which is 18, then it's theirs, technically. Technically, you got to turn it over to them, and who knows what they're going to do with it. But, I would say have a combination of both. you got to have the conversation with your clients about what's your goal here. If you want to fully fund their college, this is what it's going to take to do that. Versus, you're 33, 32, you have no retirement plan. But yeah, we're going to fix that into the planning strategy.
And
after
with
that, same way.
And with them, estate planning as well comes into play. Yeah, so I mean, naming a guardian for the kids is a big thing. Having a will, that comes into play as well.
If something happens to Mike and Lisa, they have no will, they have minor children, the court decides who gets to take care of them.
Right.
And when I brought that up, they looked at each other, and he said to Lisa, "It ain't going to be your brother, I'll tell you that." Well, the court will decide. So just get a will, folks, and a power of attorney. So the power of attorney, in the event something happens to Mike where he's incapacitated, maybe he names Lisa as the attorney in fact to sign on his behalf and do those things. Simple estate planning. And going along with estate planning, what struck me is this: she's got a 10-year term policy, $100,000 benefit. I see that all the time. Is that enough, number one? No, it's not. Not for them. Why get a 10-year? That's going to carry you to 42? And then after that, it either goes away or the premium escalates very high. So they got it from their local P&C agent. Nothing wrong with that. But I see these 10-year, $100,000. It's like a vanilla cookie.
Yeah.
Is that right? Vanilla ice cream or?
Sure.
But
Let's go with it.
I love term insurance. It's the cheapest form of insurance. It doesn't have cash value, but it's for a specific time.
Well, I mean, the same
because
same thing with Sarah. I mean, when it comes to a financial plan, we can still adjust things. That's the beauty of the software that we use. When it comes down to a financial plan, that's where we can play with the numbers, see what's viable, what's not.
Yeah, I always say, with a financial plan, it's going to open your eyes. It's either going to give you confidence or it's going to give you reality. I thought it was interesting now that I look at this. These two households, the 24-year-old and the couple 33 and 32, both have similar goals of retiring in their 50s.
Right.
And I'm not going to say it can't be done. You just got to be very difficult. I mean, it's going to be, you got to be aggressive with your saving.
Yeah.
And your spending habits, but both of them really don't have debt other than the mortgage for Mike and Lisa. So you can see that in your 20s what you need to be addressing, and then we see in the 30s things change, and it's a few different goals. In your 40s, it's going to be 40s and 50s are usually your peak earning years.
Right.
But we wrap this up in a bow with financial planning, addresses pretty much all those concerns, and it's ongoing. So we want relationships with our clients and ongoing communication, and that's going to do it for this session with these two couples. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, why don't you give this podcast, the 5-star, download it for us. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube.
Do it.
Just do it.
Thank you for joining us on That Financial Guy. For more information, get in touch with Keith and Jack at wfa-nc.com. Remember to subscribe to the podcast to hear more information to help you pursue your financial goals. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA/SIPC. The options voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. This information is not intended to be a substitute for individualized legal advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific situation with a qualified attorney. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax advice. Please seek a professional tax advisor.